when Jesus calls this guy to sell all of his riches and give to the poor and build his riches in heaven and follow him, there's a tendency to look at his riches as a negative thing, and that's a mistake, because there's other parts in the Bible where riches are used mightily and blessed by God. So when we look through our life, the riches are not necessarily a bad thing. It was just that his attachment to those riches were distracting him, they were interfering, they were hindering him, diverting him from following Jesus. That's what we're looking for. And we have to be careful as we examine our lives that we're not just looking for the bad stuff in our lives, because there is plenty of good stuff in our lives that Jesus is telling us to get rid of, because we're relying more on that than we are God. And so when we do a quick inventory, we might think, well, there isn't really anything bad in my life. Well, it might not be the bad stuff that you're relying on. It might be the good stuff that's hindering me and you from walking, from following Christ the way he is called. I'll give you a real life, current example in my life. I've been super into these productivity books. I've ripped through them fast, 1 or 2 sittings. I just enjoy reading them, and there's a lot of good insight in just trying to find a rhythm in my own life. And just the other day, I ran into this thing where I thought, man, this is really good. And so I set my calendar up, my Google Calendar, for this new kind of routine or schedule that I thought would be really beneficial and doable for me. And I got so excited about it that when I was done, I just went to bed. I got a cup of water and went to sleep, went to bed. Didn't go to sleep, I just went to bed. And I got a horrible night's sleep. I mean, it just tossed and turned all night. I slept intermittently and not really deeply, and just, I woke up the next day trashed. Absolutely trashed. And I'm thinking, what gives? I mean, what is it? That's what it is. I began to rely on these productivity books and the schedule that I was making, which are all good things. We should have intentionality. We should have schedule. But I was putting those things in place instead of being God reliant and being prayer reliant, and bringing God into that process and asking God for the obedience to follow these things, and to do that with an open hand, seeing and looking for the hand of God and what he's blessing and what he's asking me to maybe change or even get rid of out of some of these productivity schedules and techniques and stuff like that. I mean, the simplest thing you'd think I would have known, and it just slipped right by me. And I truly, honestly believe that the restless sleep was the sovereignty of God, that I would struggle dearly with adhering to the schedule that I had set, and it constantly brought me into prayer the next day. This constant posture of prayer. I absolutely needed God. And so it may not even be a matter of, listen, I've got to get rid of these productivity books. No, I need a new relationship with the productivity books. I cannot make them an idol. Listen, you and I, our hearts, our flesh, it is so easy to make things idols. We need to know that about ourselves. We're in a severe handicapped, a real disadvantage in the warfare that we're in if we don't realize how easily we make idols. I mean, it's in the Bible. I mean, how long before they were worshiping a cow made of, I mean, it's just, they make something and worship it, and we think that's the most ridiculous thing in the world, and yet here I am making a schedule and worshiping it. So when we look through our lives, we're looking for, what are the temptations and the hindrances and the diversions that provide for me a false sense of security that makes radical trust in God difficult? And how do I know I'm radically trusting God? My prayer life looks like it. My time in the Bible looks like that. My thought life looks like it. I mean, there is a difference between a man or a woman who is a God-fearing, God-relying man or woman and somebody who is not. Just in prayer life alone, in the posture that they go into prayer. You can't live a God-reliant life if you're not going to God constantly. It's not possible. So if I'm lacking in prayer, and I might get guilty that I don't pray enough, Well, put the guilt onto the cross. That is an accusation from Satan. There is no more condemnation. Instead, let's look back through our lives and find out even the good in our lives that we might need to change our perspective on or get rid of entirely.